Hey everyone, Joe here from buildassetsonline.com, and I'm here with my brother Mike. Mike, what's going on?
Nothing much, living the dream.
Yeah, that's one thing to call it, right? The dream. This all could be a dream, like that movie or something. But anyway, let's get to the core of what we're going to talk about today. We're going to be answering a question from a viewer. I believe his name is John. Sorry, I didn't write down your name, but John asks, loving all of the content, just wondering how many products as a minimum would you recommend there to be on a store when starting out with high ticket dropshipping and Google ads? And I think this is a pretty simple one to answer, but also there is no straightforward answer. So why don't you get into some of the details, Mike?
That's how we are. We like to ramble on for 15 minutes about something you can just say in one word. So, one word answer, 10. No, I'm just kidding. So yeah, there is really no set number. I think it comes down to mainly your supplier relationships. And when we first started, our first store that we launched in 2 weeks that we talk about, when we made our first sale in 2 weeks after just having nothing, that store probably had, what would you say, Joe? Like 50 products on it?
I think less. I think 30.
Okay. Yeah. So 30 products, and we made sales our first day. And so I think that answer is not a one size fits all. I think what it came down to was the niche that we had chosen and the suppliers that we had. They actually did not have a big product catalog. So one supplier maybe had like 10 products. Another supplier actually had more products, but we decided to only list the ones that were relevant to the niche that we had chosen. So going forward, if we did this in the future, it may have looked a bit different. But so we started out with just a couple dozen products, and that worked. And so I would say it kind of depends how hard you want to go and what your comfort level is and your level of knowledge with Google Ads. So if you have 30 products, then it's a lot less to manage, and you can get more. The traffic is not going to be spread out to 1,000 products, but you're only trying to spend $10 a day because that's what you're comfortable with. So if you're not comfortable spending a lot of money, I would say start out with less products, but make sure you're starting out with products that have good margins. So don't get caught up trying to send all of your traffic to products that aren't going to be worthwhile for you. You want to make sure if you make sales that you're following our criteria that we outline in the course as to how to know if it's a good supplier. You have to look at their margins. You have to look at the competition. And I think that's really the main point. Nowadays, when me and Joe make a store, we kind of just start out as if we're already like we start out like full stride. We go full sprint. So we'll list 1,000 products, 100 products, whatever we can kind of secure during our first supplier run. List basically all of it that has good margin, and then just jump right into it. What are your thoughts, Joe?
Yeah, no, I think you hit the nail on the head. But I think, it's a good question to ask, and I understand why he's asking it. But I also think it's kind of the wrong question to ask. And yeah, I think if you're thinking about the number of products you should be having on a store, I think you should be thinking instead about the number of different brands. And I think it's important to get as many brands as you can, vertical by vertical, since we're using that word now, niche by niche. You should be getting as many good brands as you can because, like we talked about in our other episodes, that's really going to open up the floodgates for different types of product categories that you can go in. And that's where really all the gold is. So if you're going into it thinking, I'm going to get 30 products and then launch the store and then that's going to be it, is I think you're leaving a lot on the table because you're not you have to be going after those supplier price lists. I think that's the key.
Yeah, and so there's nothing wrong with like getting a bunch of suppliers out the gate and taking a look at which ones are best and then starting with those first, because having looked at other people's ad accounts who are in the program, and sometimes I see they almost have too many suppliers for their budget, so it kind of becomes hard to know what's working. I think it paints a skewed picture as to what products or brands are going to make you a lot of money, because if you're only spending $30 a day, but you have 10 suppliers, the amount of allocation that needs to happen to sort of spread out the budget, it's not going to give you worthwhile data for, on a weekly basis. So if I had like 5 brands, then, I'd want to be spending at least $50 a day, $60 a day. So I know that the products are getting as much clicks as they could. Because if you're just, if you're listing brands and products just for the hell of it and you're keeping your budget the same, then yeah, you're gonna have a hard time telling what's good and what's bad. And just a more straightforward answer would be to look at your search impression share on Google. And there's a way, if you go into the columns, you can see the search impression share that you're losing because of rank, and I believe you can do it maybe through budget as well. So either way, if it says rank, that's fine too. But what that means is Google is not showing your products to customers for a certain reason, whether it's because you don't have the money to spend to show it, you're not bidding enough, so it's not showing up high enough to where it generates impressions, or they deem it a bad ad because they think it's not going to get a good click-through rate. Maybe your price is too high. So taking a look at the search impression share, and especially for branded terms where it should be high, and again, in the course we kind of go over all this a little bit more, but if you're looking at your branded terms and you see the search impression share is low, and you have this situation where you're not spending a lot and you have a bunch of brands, then that's definitely an issue. So capitalizing on search impression share is the name of the game. And I think as long as you're doing that, then you are good to go in any manner.
Yeah, you kind of hit the nail on the head with something that people ask a lot outside of, this question kind of framed it in a different way. But people often ask when they email us, they say, is this a good supplier? Is that a good supplier? And I personally, when I respond, I encourage them to not spend so much time and energy focusing on deciding if a supplier is good or not before calling. And like you said, I think the key but it can become an issue, because if you have a lot of brands, you cannot advertise them all at once if you don't want to spend the money right away. But I think why I give that advice is not so that people can go out and, spend all their money advertising on stuff that doesn't work. It's so that they can uncover those high margin products that are worth spending the money on. I think that's the key, is when you're looking to start this how many products you need. It's how many high margin products do you want to get? Like that's the key, and the only way to get that is the price list. So you have to go out and get the suppliers, not think too much if they're good or bad, and that's about it.
Yeah, people get stuck in this mind state that you don't have to have for high ticket dropshipping, and that's the one most important thing that makes it the best thing to start out with. So, for example, with real estate, you can't go willy-nilly and buy a house.
Yeah.
Amazon FBA, you can't just say buying 100,000 units from China. Oh, gonna try it out. SEO, you can't buy all these articles, write these articles just to try it out, because it's gonna any one of those things is gonna cost you money, and you're not gonna have any idea when you're gonna get a return on it. There's so many factors. With calling a supplier, you risk nothing. It costs nothing. You get in, great. You don't, oh well. So that's just the whole key of it. You can call as many as you want, and the more you call, the better you get. The more suppliers you have, the more leverage you have to get other ones. So this is something people get hung up on. You're right. They should not even spend mental energy talking themselves out of it. Just make the call.
Exactly. So yeah, so we don't ramble on too much. I think we really got down to the core of the question with all the details that people need to know.
Mhm.
So I guess we'll just end this shorter episode unless you have something else to add.
I think that's about it.
All right. Well, I actually have something else to add. Depending on which platform you're on, don't forget to like, subscribe, ask a question on this video. If you're listening to this on a podcast format, please rate the show on iTunes or whatever, Stitcher. We really appreciate it, and it helps us out. And you can also email us with any similar questions that you want to have answered on this show. So that's about it. Signing off. We'll see you guys next episode.
Take it easy.